My friends, who are the folk heroes of speedrunning? You know, these legendary figures who may not be A-list speedrun icons, but have their place deep in the lore of speedrun history. Wikipedia describes a folk hero as a type of hero, real, fictional, or mythological, with their name, personality, and deeds embedded in the popular consciousness of a people, mentioned frequently in folk songs, folk tales, and other folklore, and with modern trope status in literature, art, and films. Does anyone come to mind? And while speedrunning isn't quite old enough to have folk songs sung in the halls of pubs and ale houses throughout the world, there are some characters who I feel fit the mold of a folk hero in the speedrun realm. So get comfy, pour yourself a warm beverage, and let's ponder the folk heroes of speedrunning.
Here we go!
Yellow Shirt Guy. Yellow Shirt Guy, also known as Blue Glass 54 or Jared Minahan, is, in my opinion, the epitome of a folk hero in speedrunning. So AGDQ 2013 was a massively significant event, because while GDQs and speedrun marathons did take place previously, AGDQ 2013 was the first one after what I would call the Twitch revolution of speedrunning, and the rise of attention to the activity, thanks in large part to speedrunners like Siglemic regularly streaming to tens of thousands of viewers. So more eyes were on speedrunning and speedrun marathons than ever before. Not to mention, improvements to internet speed quality in much of the world around this time allowed the ability to watch live streaming content more fluidly than was possible in, say, 2007 or earlier. So with tens of thousands of people tuning into AGDQ for the first time, many who were eagerly awaiting Siglemic's Super Mario 64 120-star performance, which was one of the final runs of the event, the viewers would pass their time enjoying the stream, chatting, memeing about other unexpected ongoings. One common sight on the stream was this fellow, a guy wearing a yellow shirt, who was nearly omnipresent on screen. And not only that, but people quickly realized that a lot of speedruns, which go on for hours and hours, could get a little boring and dry at times. But Yellow Shirt Guy was always there to chime in with an earnest laugh at even the driest of jokes or silliest of moments in game. There's a lot to do at these events behind the scenes. Well, mostly hanging out with other internet friends off stream. And it was clear that Yellow Shirt Guy was a pretty big nerd who maybe wasn't too much for socializing in hotel rooms over drinks or whatnot. So his earnest appearance in the main venue, and again at the time and size of this event, the main venue was just a hotel conference room, well, Yellow Shirt Guy earned the favor of thousands of viewers very quickly by just being so darn earnestly interested in the whole thing. Fan pages were quickly made on Facebook, on forums, and the like. I vividly remember participating in this Facebook fan page for Yellow Shirt Guy during the event. Soon enough, the internet found out that this fellow's name was Jared Blue Glass Minahan, and that he would be speedrunning Echo the Dolphin the following day, which led to further interest and anticipation among the viewers. After all, Speed Demos Archive had hosted a run of Echo the Dolphin performed by Blue Glass back in 2006, so he was considered a foremost speedrunner and expert of this classic game. His run was fine. Honestly, the run itself wasn't too memorable and doesn't really chart in all-time GDQ runs lists. But Yellow Shirt Guy, or YSG, or Blue Glass, or Jared, played honorably, and his personality was on full display.
Possible.
Yeah.
Which is why the TAS is so ridiculous.
Yeah,
Also, there's something the TAS does in this level that I have no idea how it happens, where they jump and up and then spin around and then fly through the air, fly through the wall and go straight to the end. Ah! Missed the end level trigger. Oh, easiest level in the game.
Oh yeah, best level.
Ah, come on. You need to line yourself there.
Blue Glass continued to partake in spectating the runs, and the memes kept flowing. Though over time, his boisterous laugh and sometimes ill-placed or over-the-top laughing outbursts did sometimes begin to grate on some of the audience, as well as some in attendance.
Just a reminder.
but mostly and especially as various small controversies or bits of drama began to unfold, his attitude was seen as a refreshing, cute, and earnest window into a nerd just having the time of his life. Blueglass would perform Echo or Echo 2 The Tides of Time at 2 more events, SGDQ 2013 and the legendarily infamous SGDQ 2014, where again, his unique charm and earnestness, I genuinely don't have another word for it, well, it would win over fans worldwide. One of the craziest things about Blueglass's performances at these events are that he accumulated well over 7,000 followers on his Twitch channel, Blueglass54, despite never having streamed there. These days, people can stream at these events to tens of thousands of viewers, yet barely gain a dozen followers on their Twitch channel. Back then, an interesting and exciting performance could help to gain a large following, and this is just a testament to how beloved Blueglass's appearance at these events truly was, the fact that he gained such a following on his Twitch channel despite never streaming and not having any plans to do so. That many people followed just in hopes that he would someday stream there.
I don't remember. It's either this level or the shark level where they still attack you when you're a dolphin. Possibly both. I don't remember for sure. Okay, last level. I need some serious time.
Slowly but surely, Blueglass's appearances at the event, even just as a background character, would become fewer and further between. And much has been made about a character like Blueglass being cast to the side, whether naturally by his own doing or as a programming choice. Organizers have stated that Blueglass is not banned from the event per se, but he was only seen very rarely in the audience in years following his own performances, and eventually not seen at all. A huge change from the ubiquitous presence he had at early events. These comments from one of many Reddit threads about YSG sums it up well. Blueglass, a true GDQ GOAT, would be present for all runs, supporting people. I get that some people found him a little annoying, but personally I found his support of everyone so endearing that I just loved the guy. On one hand, I can understand the frustration because he would often talk and laugh too much, and sometimes tell facts about the games that were incorrect. But he seems like such a sweet and sincere person that just loved the community so much. Speedrunning could do with more people like him, TBH. Lastly, I just want to add that Blueglass's Echo runs, while they were some of the few ever submitted for the series to Speed Demo's archive, are not even ranked on speedrun.com, which is the more widely accepted modern place where you find speedruns compiled. The time of his runs doesn't hold up today too much, which isn't to say his runs were bad or anything, but it is to say that his status as a folk legend in speedrunning is entirely based on his presence as a supporting character at these early live events, rather than in-game accomplishments. And so whatever the case may be, the initial appearance of Blueglass at AGDQ 2013 has cemented him as a speedrunning folk hero who will always be remembered for the memes and joy he brought to the stream viewers, if even for only a short time. David Marshmallow Gibbons. David Marshmallow Gibbons, or Marsh for short, is in my opinion one of the clearest examples of a speedrunning folk hero. A figure who did so much in an era well before we'd ever imagine his contributions would be appreciated years later. With a combination of meticulous game FAQ guides and a truly remarkable deep catalog of speedruns, so many of which are still viewable today, his impact from the 90s and 2000s truly lives on through the annals of speedrun and gaming history. One of Marsh's earliest legendary contributions stems from December 1998, with one of the most popular walkthroughs for The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time, published on Game FAQs just as the site was becoming the central hub for written guides. His Ocarina of Time guide would be an Odyssean work in progress that took him 2 years to see through to completion, and it is unbelievable in scope. I copied and pasted the OOT guide into Google Docs and found that it is 200 pages, or 62,000 words in length. Now get this, that is nearly as long as the first 2 Harry Potter books. It's longer than most of the books in C.S. Lewis's Chronicles of Narnia series, and it is comparably long to literary classics The Adventures of Tom Sawyer, A Clockwork Orange, and Treasure Island. Like, dude, that is actually insane. Keep in mind that Marsh started work on this guide only a month after the game's release and didn't have other guides or knowledge to consult. He played through and learned all the stuff himself. Like, he didn't have anyone else to get a hint as to finding a hidden sculptula or heart piece. He literally wrote the book on the game. Now, personally, I mostly learned of Marsh in the mid-2000s through his contributions to GoldenEye and Perfect Dark. Marsh submitted the first ever double agent speedrun in GoldenEye, that is, beating all the stages from Dam to Cradle and unlocking and beating the bonus Aztec and Egypt on double agent. And while his time is fairly rudimentary, it is iconic and even inspiring people that playing through the whole game at once is something that could or should be done. His time was 57:02, by the way, still beating it in under an hour, which is pretty cool. Marsh was also an early champion of Perfect Dark, at a time when the community was mostly a small rivalry of a handful of players. Even so, the records he collected early on in his career live on, placing him 10th all-time in the game's total tally of records set in the game's history. Marsh would become one of the biggest contributors to Speed Demo's archive in its formative years. He's become an almost mythical hero in early speedrunning, sharing one of the first full-game speedruns for entries such as Banjo-Kazooie, Jet Force Gemini, Body Harvest, Bomberman 64, Castlevania 64, Chameleon Twist, Mission Impossible, Shadow Man, Quest 64, the Turok games, and the list just goes on and on and on. Like, I didn't even do it justice there. He was also a pioneer in the Odyssean game Chrono Trigger, among many, many others. It's honestly unbelievable. Many of Marsh's countless SDA submissions came with extensive write-ups that provide incredible detail, explaining why he chose one route over another, why he accepted small time losses for consistency, and these write-ups serve as a great reference point to someone learning the game, able to follow the guides as a more dated, basic entry-level speedrun. Oh yeah, you might remember Wouter Goes Bananas in early Donkey Kong 64 speedrun, considered one of the most ridiculous and poorly executed runs of all time. I did a video with that a few years ago. Well, Marsh was the one who edited together the original Wouter Goes Bananas clip, as well as uploading the 13-hour total speedrun, a Herculean feat in its own right. Any speedrunner of 90s and early 2000s games will likely come across some of Marsh's work at some point. His Game FAQ's contributor stats show that he's written 35 full game guides, 8 in-depth guides, and a few other pages. It's too much to ponder. Marsh is just a true legend and is definitely someone I would consider a folk hero in speedrunning. Marsh still seems to be gaming to this very day, often uploading Counter-Strike 1.5 clips to his YouTube channel, The Marshmallow Factory. I just want to take a moment roughly halfway through this video to thank the channel members and Patreon supporters for all of your support. I hope you're all staying warm and safe during this intense winter, even to my Australian friends, since I heard it was a little bit chilly there recently. And if you have any folk heroes who come to mind, whether it's in speedrunning, gaming, the early internet, I would love to hear about them in the comments. Who knows, maybe I'll make a follow-up video sometime. Anyways, let's carry on. Shadow of Myles. Shadow of Myles is, in my opinion, one of the most influential Nintendo 64 gamers of all time, who pushed the limits of a handful of games before speedrunning and high score chasing was very widespread. Myles' YouTube channel has not seen a new upload in over 11 years, yet has over 800 videos, mostly from the games Super Mario 64, Mario Kart 64, Mario Golf, and Star Wars Episode 1 Racer. And I've spent countless nights just scouring these clips, ranging from iconic classic discoveries to extremely obscure oddities. It's an essential library, peering into the early days of what playing these games at a high level was like, before Twitch live streams, live events, YouTube content, and all that stuff. Before anyone knew, frankly, that anyone else would care. Myles is credited with achieving 56 world records in Mario Kart 64, the vast majority of which were in the shortcut mode, which is a testament to his ability to glitch hunt and even optimize weird shortcuts in the game. For example, he held and lowered the records on Yoshi Valley, Frappe Snowland, and Wario Stadium numerous times, stages that are known for their shortcuts. Some of these records lasted for years and years until more modern tools came along, allowing ROM hackers and speedrun scientists to analyze how to further break the game. So it's remarkable to think that Myles was setting these nearly optimized scores back in the early 2000s. In particular, his Yoshi Valley 5.57 fast lap and 27.73 3 lap, records I made a video about years ago, pondering if they would ever be broken, stood for more than 5 years each. Admittedly, I don't know much about Star Wars Episode 1 Racer, but Myles was heavily involved in this game too, where he was among the first major runners pushing the game seriously as far back as 2004. It's a very fast game with tight lines, and early runners, like in many games back then, had to invent both the routes and techniques as they went, while optimizing their time trials at the same time. Myles discovered something called the Abyss Skip, a pivotal and legendary technique in the game, as well as setting numerous records. Feel free to fill in any gaps in the comments if you know more about this game than I do. And I always love Myles' Mario Golf clips, as that's truly one of my favorite and most beloved games. He has countless insane shots of holes-in-ones or albatrosses under insane conditions, like while hitting a tree, or a melon on Yoshi Island. I mean, that one is just so unbelievably insane. When I first saw it, I just couldn't stop laughing. What a clip. Myles never really speedran Mario Golf, or should I say speed golf, because that's an in-game mode, but his influence and enthusiasm for the game can be felt even here. But certainly, Myles' most notorious activity, and that which perhaps shapes his legacy from a folk hero into somewhat of an anti-hero, takes place in Super Mario 64. In particular, there was a 16-star run that became, for a time, the face of speedrunning for countless viewers. Recorded in 2008 and posted to Myles' own YouTube channel in numerous parts due to YouTube having a length of time upload limit back then, as well as being posted to Speedrun's archive, his 17-minute 31 16-star performance was, for many, the definitive Mario 64 run. A clean, fast showcase of the Lakitu skip, classic early game routing, and aggressive platforming circulated widely on niche websites and file-sharing chat rooms before YouTube and Twitch had more centralized the scene. It was the Super Mario 64 video people pointed to when they wanted to explain what a speedrun was to a new friend and how quickly one could beat a game, especially the game Super Mario 64, using the legendary MIPS clip to beat the game in the iconic 16 stars. However, years later, the run became the center of a painful revelation. In 2015, another runner, Caves, identified a splice in the footage, showing that the Lakitu skip in the intro segment had been attached to the rest of the run via a hidden cut. For much of the community, learning that such a historically important run was fake was truly devastating and shocking. But honestly, all this time later, to play devil's advocate a bit, I kind of get it. You know, there were no rules back then, generally speaking, and Myles just wanted to compile or assemble a cool run, just like he was compiling and assembling cool clips of other games on his channel, as well as cool clips of Mario 64 doing weird stuff. There was no unified website like the speedrun.com of today. Myles was not making any money off the run in a tournament setting or from monetized online content, neither of which existed back then. Not to mention, YouTube only allowed videos of 10 minutes or so, or under, at that time, which is why his video is uploaded in 3 parts. So restrictions on video file sharing back then kind of forced anyone to splice in a way. You know, I know not necessarily deceptively, but it forced you to edit the run and cut it together, splicing. Myles put together a 16-star run in 3 or more parts and uploaded it to his channel in a way to his similar hundreds of other clips, many of which also have important historical value. Given the size and scope of the speedrun community back then, which was very small, I think what Myles did is less akin to cheating in, say, the Olympics or Tour de France, and more akin to cheating in a backyard game of dodgeball where you claim a ball that barely grazed you didn't actually touch you. But hey, what do I know? Either way, Myles still did play out every part of this Mario speedrun, as well as giving us countless other valuable clips of Mario 64, Mario Golf, Mario Kart 64, and Star Wars Episode 1 Racer. And that's why, to me, he is truly one of the most legendary folk heroes, if not anti-heroes, in speedrun history. Sterling Neblett. Sterling Neblett. Man, what can possibly be said about Sterling Neblett? Well, he was the first well-documented champion of GoldenEye speedrunning for whom we have any substantial proof videos of his claims. In July 98, Sterling was able to upload videos of numerous GoldenEye speedruns, including untitled records on stages like Facility Agent, Silo Double Agent, and Bunker 1 Double Agent, among many more. This was a Herculean feat at the time, in an era with dial-up internet service and very few consumer-grade tools like capture cards widely available, let alone any video sharing sites at the time, so this required the need to upload videos to a private server or website. Sterling would remain champion of GoldenEye until 2001, when he would be passed by Wouter Jansen. But many of Sterling's route choices through the game remained the gold standard, identifying which hallways or corridors to strafe down, and just how to play the fastest route to get to the end of the stage. Many of these routes hold true even now, 30 years later, and have been referred to since as the OG routes. While many of his videos became lost media over the years, a good handful are still around, able to watch his primitive yet foundational gameplay in GoldenEye speedrunning. Sterling is credited with setting a world record on all 60 of the game's stages, though many of these were never proven over the years, which isn't unexpected given the era he played. With this being said, he's credited with having achieved 159 total world records in GoldenEye, 111 of which were untied. That's good for 5th all-time in total records and 2nd all-time in untieds, behind only Wouter Jansen. Of course, untieds were easier in a sense to obtain back then, as the game was far less optimized, but even so, his tallies and early pioneering of the game speaks for itself. These days, all these years later, Sterling still hangs around the GoldenEye speedrunning community, often suggesting how his strategies from back then could be useful today, or theorizing impossible and sometimes incoherent strategies like what he calls the OGAR, the OG Archives route, or the Valentoe, where you shoot Valentin on streets to back him up slightly and lock in his position. These are often things that have already been done by players over the years and would make no difference to the speedrun ability of the stage, or things that are just impossible and make no sense. It's weird. And they're often things that Sterling could also test himself if he would just pick up a controller, something that he refused to do for many years, despite being a past champion of the game, although he finally has played a bit in recent times.
Woo! Let's go, boys! Woo! Happy Valentine Day.
Now, I mean this all with nothing but love and respect, having interacted pleasantly with Sterling over the years. However, his place fills a spot in the community the same way as that old guy hanging out in the back of the bar as a local regular, or your senile neighbor who sits on the porch all day yelling local oddities to passersby on the street. Honestly, Sterling reminds me of this American folk hero by the name of Harry R. Truman, a guy who lived at the base of Mount St. Helens in a cabin he built his whole life. At the age of 83, with the volcano imminently set to erupt, Harry Truman refused to leave his cabin and perished in the pyroclastic blast. And in a way, you gotta respect that. The old man willing to go down with his life and what he had built. Obviously, this is not quite exactly the same as Sterling, but a kind of old guy who did his bit, built his piece, and is unwilling to change. I respect it in Sterling's case. For what it's worth, he apparently runs some kind of yacht rental business in Florida and is apparently a really chill dude to hang around with, appearing at numerous in-person meets in the GoldenEye community over the last decade or two. Either way, there's no doubt that Sterling is indeed the OG GoldenEye champion who went above and beyond improving many of his early speedrun world records at a time when that was very difficult. And for that, he is truly one of the game's most influential players of all time, as well as being a great folk hero in speedrunning. So hey, there you are. There are my choices for the folk heroes of speedrunning. Thanks to the Patreon supporters and channel members for supporting all my work. Stay true, my friends, and I will see you in the next stream, video, or fireside.